The greatest basketball player of all time, Micheal Jordan, said the following statement: "I would tell players to relax and never think about what's at stake. Just think about the basketball game. If you start to think about who is going to win the championship, you've already lost your focus." In order to be a champion, you have to be so focused that you don't have time to think about who's going to win or who's going to lose. That's not important right now. That reality hasn't been sunk in yet until the actual work has been put in.
You kind of have to personally dissociate yourself. Like, you have to detach yourself from yourself as a person and them as a person, and essentially just view yourself as an instrument for the technique. And then, allow that to paint the picture. Don't view it, the more you view it as you as a person versus them as a person, I think, then you allow all the things that go with being a person get involved, such as emotion and like impulse and whatnot, rather than allowing just the technique itself to exhibit the performance.
I personally feel like we reach a point in our lives, whatever it might be, where we want to be the absolute best. We strive to be number one. Now, I find when we do that, we put this immense pressure on ourselves without actually putting enough attention to the real reason why we're doing it in the first place. It's the love we have for the game. It's the love we have for the career. And it's the love we have for the life that we live that brings us back to the focus that keeps us moving forward. So unless you actually channel that level of focus and hunger you have, you'll never end up getting there. It will result in you feeling completely exhausted and ultimately sucking the joy out of doing it. So the question here today that we're going to find the answers to is, how can you better find that focus and be able to build a foundation for yourself to develop the mindset of a champion? The 2020 CFL winner, Dexter Janke from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, gave us deep insight on what and who needs to be your primary focus to come out on top.
The same strategies that anybody uses as a high performer, right? You can talk about the CEO, you can talk about the janitor that's the best janitor in the city, right? It's all the same methods. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So and another thing along it is, where's your intentions? What are your priorities? Yeah. If you don't put a serious priority on figuring out who you are and increasing your self-awareness, then it's not going to happen, right? Wow. That goes, maybe you don't go and get drunk 3 times a week. Maybe you don't get high 3 times, 5 times. That. Exactly. Yeah. What am I gaining from this? Every situation you go into, there's a positive and negative effect, right? On everything, right? Wow. Now you need to look within yourself. Is this feeding who I want to be? Absolutely. Is this feeding what I want to do? Or is this taking me farther away from that, right? Yeah. We talked about like the suppressing all the different things. And again, like it could be liquor, it could be whatever else, right? But for me personally, I needed to cut all of that stuff out. I needed to take it all out of my life to really figure out myself.
I find that during this whole entire time we've been self-isolating, I really wanted to take it upon myself to reflect and really figure out who I am. And I find when you're at a stage in your life when you are trying to figure out who you are, you're recognizing that there's some changes that are going to come along the way, or that have come along the way, to recognize that. And one of the biggest things that I was doing was reading. And while reading during the coronavirus, I happened to come across this book, Changemaker, by John Berardi. And John Berardi is one of the founders and creators of Precision Nutrition, which is one of the programs I had done to certify myself in my journey to health and fitness now. And I really recognized that this book will forever be the first read upon me making the decision of forever changing my entire career direction going forward. So I found that the only way I was going to really figure out who I am, along with what my personal intentions are and what my purpose comes down to, was by applying Dr. John Berardi's Changemaker method in his simple 3-step process. And through this, I found that it gave me every reason to feel more focused. And so it came down to number 1, what are my values? What are some of the elements that I grew up with as a kid from my parents and from my upbringing that really gave me that much more of an inclination to say yes or to say no to certain things that didn't match my values or did match my values. Number 2, what's my purpose? What is it that ultimately makes me get up every single morning to get after it? And I like to really marry that in with my intrinsic motivation is understanding that what are some of the actions that I need to take that motivate me to get to the destination I have in mind. And last, but certainly not least, it comes down to what are my unique abilities? What are some of the things that I find are my strengths and that naturally in anything I do, I rely on? And that's when it came down to my love for communicating with other people, public speaking, my passion for fitness and health, when every single day I'm noticing that these are some of the informations that I enjoy gathering so I could apply it to my own health, so I could apply it to my own clientele. And so by identifying that, it became very clear to me that I care deeply about helping others maximize their potential. I care deeply about understanding that we as humans have the ability to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to make sure that we hit our peak. And I learned through even myself finding other coaches or finding this sense of longing to go to an expert and get advice from them, that is what builds accountability. And I want to be able to provide that for others based off my values, my purpose, and my unique abilities. So in a sense of developing a winning mindset for when it came to really choosing my career, I noticed that I found my calling. I was able to tie in all of these 3 elements, and now, without even doubting myself, I don't need to look back and regret any other choice I make because I know exactly what I'm getting after now. The distractions are completely gone. So I'm actually gonna pull out another book reference because let's be honest, a lot of reading was done during self-isolating, and this book happens to be one of my favorites. It is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. In the autobiography of the creator and founder of Nike, he happened to mention a lot of moments where he also wasn't exactly sure where he was going to navigate his career. And I remember he said this one thing that I really resonated with and that I actually saw myself in, where he mentions how when he was selling encyclopedias, it was something he extremely despised. He felt better at selling mutual funds, but then while he was doing that, he felt dead inside. But then, when it came to shoes, oddly, strangely, to his biggest surprise, it was different. It was billions of dollars different. So, Mr. Knight came to a conclusion and said the following, and I quote, "It wasn't selling. I believed in running. I believed that if people got out and ran a few miles every day, the world would be a better place. And I believed that these shoes were better to run in. People, sensing my belief, wanted some of that belief for themselves. Belief, I decided. Belief is irresistible." So you know what? Today we actually talked a lot about driving it back to focus. But I find that what we also need to recognize is if you don't even believe in yourself or you don't even believe in what you do, not only are you going to come out a loser, you're also going to come out realizing that no one else will believe in you. I just want you to understand that you have to believe in your ability, believe in what you're capable of, so much so that it's your passion that you have for it that aligns with your values, your purpose, and your unique abilities. So I want you to do an exercise, okay? After watching this today, I want you to figure out what those 3 things are for yourself and then determine whatever it is you're currently doing, how much so that connects to the 3 elements. And you know what? If you find that it doesn't, just like me, don't be afraid to take the leap and take action on what you believe you can win at with the right focus and with ultimately looking yourself in the mirror and believing that you have what it takes. Step by step, I know and you know that you'll be able to get there and get the W, baby. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed. If you're continuing to enjoy our theatrical motivational videos, hit that subscribe button, please. Feel free to check us out on our Second Floor podcast on all streaming platforms. You know, we talk about how to survive, how to thrive, and keep the good vibes going in life and business. Thank you so much, and I'm out.